What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. Outside the Dort. He'll get the flyby. 3 on the way, and he rattles it in. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast, coming to you live on Free Agency Eve, Wednesday, June 29th. Apparently, it is opposite day in Thunderland. We'll get into that in a moment. We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and SI Thunder. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. We've got Taylor Peterson along tonight.
Already lots and lots of news. Exciting Wednesday.
It was a very busy Wednesday. We also got Kamiar Murabian.
I've got a handful of peanuts. What kind of nut is your guys' favorite nut?
I already knew what you were going to ask. Pistachio guy right here, especially that, what's the brand? I think it's Wonderful. Have the
Do you buy pistachios that are already unshelled?
Typically, but I don't discriminate amongst the different pistachios of the world.
Weak.
I'm a peanut guy. I don't like
peanut guy.
I don't like going to like the
peanuts.
steakhouses where they have the peanuts in the shells and people just crack them open and throw them on the ground. I got like roasted peanuts or like the ones that have like a little bit of seasoning on them or something like that. But you know what's weird though?
Me too.
I like peanuts.
Yep.
Cannot stand crunchy peanut butter.
Also agree.
What about almonds and stuff like that?
I like almonds. Hey,
Not
speaking
like
of weird,
by
peanut
themselves, but if it's like a candy bar that has almonds in it, or like something like that, like I can do almonds, but I don't like almonds just on their own.
I mean, not to completely derail us, but I was allergic to peanuts until like from the time I was barely one up until like 4th grade, and then all of a sudden I outgrew it. But like literally up until, and then from there, probably like around high school, like I started liking actual peanuts, but hated like peanut butter. And now I'm like finally to the point where I like Reese's and things like that, but I still don't love plain peanut butter. It's very strange.
I could live off peanut butter. Just get me a jar of peanut butter and a spoon.
It's creamy and not crunchy.
Good to go. Oh, I love peanut butter. Peanut butter is the best. Gentlemen, it is NBA Free Agency Eve.
Taylor's been demoted back down to co-host.
It has been a wild Wednesday with a ton of information, including some big Thunder stuff that really went opposite of what I think all of us thought would happen. So let's dive into the Thunder stuff first, and then we'll get into some league-wide trades that happened, and then maybe into some free agency predictions. But 3 options for the Thunder to make decisions on today. 3 team options on players' contracts. We had Lou Dort. We had Isaiah Roby. We had Mike Muscala. Kamiar, of those 3, you choose. Who are we starting with?
Mike Muscala.
All right, let's start with Mike. The Oklahoma City Thunder decided to not pick up Mike Muscala's team option today. It was worth $3.5 million. Thus, Mike Muscala will be an unrestricted free agent come less than 24 hours from now. Friend of the podcast, Donnie Hazelwood, did mention that OKC does have Mike Muscala's bird rights since he has been in Oklahoma City for 3 seasons without changing to another team. So the Thunder could re-sign Mike, even though the Thunder will be operating
to
as
a max contract.
Even though they'll be operating as an over-the-cap team, they'll still be able to re-sign Mike Muscala. Taylor, initial thoughts when the report comes out that the Thunder are declining Muscala's option?
I was very surprised. Like you said, Jacob, you alluded to this when you entered the podcast. Today being opposite day for OKC Thunder fans, I certainly thought that it was going to be Muscala's option that was picked up compared to Roby's. And so I find it interesting, mainly because I think even if the Thunder felt that it was finally time to move on from Muscala, that they could probably trade that contract. So that immediately leads me like to thinking about this new contract that he could sign. Like Donnie mentioned, the Thunder have his bird rights. Maybe you sign him to a team-friendly deal, but maybe give him a little more up front like this season, where you have a team option next season and you could potentially waive him 2023 when you want to have a little more cap room. Maybe it's a situation where you sign him to another team-friendly contract that can be traded, later on down the road. I can't remember what that date would be if they signed a free agent, essentially, during this free agency period. I think you have to wait a certain amount of time.
I think it's until early January.
Yeah, that sounds right. I was trying to remember if it was December or January. I think you're right. So technically he could still be traded again, like around the trade deadline. But I don't know. I did find it interesting that they didn't pick up that option. So I'm very torn. I see a lot of Thunder fans saying they think he could be coming back on a new contract. I almost don't think so for some reason. I don't even know why I have that feeling. I don't have anything really to back that up. It just, to me, makes more sense to just pick up that option for this season and then, proceed accordingly. I find it interesting that he was waived. Or sorry, not waived, the team option wasn't picked up.
Camille, where do you kind of stand? Were you surprised, not surprised? What do you think kind of the thought process and the motive of not picking up that team option for Muscala is?
That's a great question. I don't know, right? I mean, what a lot of people thought he brought was veteran presence, a guy that you could always kind of rely on, especially shot really great splits for OKC beyond the arc, and was just just like a good general locker room guy. And it was just interesting. Maybe they are just fully going in on the young guys, or this is a move before another move that goes into more than just re-signing Lou Dort or not re-signing Lou Dort and trading him. Who knows? Or sign and trading him. So it felt odd, right? A lot of people thought it was going to be the opposite. So I'm not sure about the motive, that other than if you just want to look at it in a vacuum, picking up Roby's, but like it's not fully guaranteed till July 3rd. And declining on Muscala's kind of shows us, okay, well, they're all in on the youth if you want to look at it in a vacuum, but it could be a lot more to it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kamyard. It's very strange. I thought the opposite was also going to happen. I thought Mike's contract was going to get picked up for this final season. To me, it just made too much sense. You want the veteran leadership. We know that the front office really values Mike Muscala. Sam Presti visited the dude's house at the opening of free agency 3 years ago. Even more so, Mike is a big man from Minnesota who has NBA experience in multiple cities. That seems like a great guy to mentor Chet Holmgren. Also a big man from Minnesota. Can relate a little bit there. It was just kind of surprising to me that they did not pick up that option. Do you guys think it's something as simple as the roster crunch? Just that Mike Muscala is going to be the odd man out and not be back because they have to get rid of 5 guys between now and the end of training camp? Or do you guys think that he will be back on another cheap short-term deal with OKC?
I wonder, look, I'm not saying there's a Lou Dort sign-in trade for DeAndre Ayton coming in, that kind of thing or whatever. But I do wonder maybe if Presti has something lined up for the start of free agency tomorrow, where he would take back a bigger contract for draft assets, and needed that roster spot technically, and that was just an easy one at this time.
The thing is, once free agency starts tomorrow, they can't take back any money. All that cap space is gone.
That was my question. Is it at the start of free agency, though, or is it because they moved the start of free agency up, which is confusing because technically it's
I believe back. It'll be once free agency opens.
And that is when the new league calendar. So, okay. Yeah. Well, never mind.
So they will not be able to absorb money after that. That's gotcha. When, even though the fiscal year will not have turned over,
That's what I was thinking.
Starting tomorrow at 6. Anything that happens gets finalized on like July 6th or whatever it is, whenever the new fiscal year begins. And that's whenever Shea's max kicks in, and they cannot maneuver around like an under the cap team anymore. They will technically be operating as an over the cap team.
Well, never mind. Disregard. I just find it so interesting. I didn't pick up that option.
Taylor, give me your percentage that Mike Muscala is back in OKC next season.
I really think it's closer to like 30% right now. And I could like be completely wrong tomorrow. At this time tomorrow, we'll know that obviously, but and I shouldn't even say that like that. But this could be one of those ones that the Thunder just kind of wait for it to play out, and if the opportunity presents itself later on, depending on how free agency and trades pan out, they could bring him back later on in the offseason. But all that to say, I'm a little less optimistic, I think, than some Thunder fans I saw earlier today, especially because I think Muscala is going to be in high demand, not in terms of like a super expensive contract necessarily, but like on the contract, like for example, that OKC could offer him. I think there's going to be a lot of contenders that would love to have a player like that coming off the bench. We've talked about that for 2 years now, right? So because of that, I think it's a pretty low chance, and I think Muscala probably finds his way to a contender and is playing some legitimate minutes next season.
Come here, where would you put the percentage chance at that Muscala is back in OKC?
Not high. I mean, OKC just drafted 2 bigs, and they draft 2 bigs, and it's pretty self-explanatory where you see what they did with Roby in comparison to what they did with Muscala. I mean, I think that's what tells a lot of what's going on, what direction they're heading. Like, if that's what you're prioritizing, then that's it. So I would say his chances of coming back are not very high, especially because it looks like they're intending to sign Jalen Williams and, of course, Chet Holmgren to the front court, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, when you look at the front court players currently on the roster, Sam Presti has said that JaMychal Green is not going to play in OKC, so we can toss him out.
GRE, Darius Baisley.
Yeah, then you have Jay Will, you have Chet, you have Derek Favors.
Yep. First season. One more. This last season.
This is his last season. I was pretty confident that Derek Favors was going to be one of the guys that gets moved because of the roster crunch. But what the hell do I know? Because I thought they were going to keep Mike Muscala and get rid of Isaiah Roby today, and they did the exact opposite. So it's fascinating. I'm going to put the number at about 25% that he comes back. I think they like him, and I think there's a chance. But today was kind of telling. So let's transition to the other guy we've mentioned. The Thunder decided to exercise the option to bring back Isaiah Roby. So he'll be coming back next season. His contract, this is kind of a weird thing. They picked up the option, but it is a non-guaranteed contract until July 3rd.
That's my birthday.
Happy early birthday to Kamiar and
Thank
America.
You. Thank you.
$1.9 million on July 3rd becomes guaranteed.
It's also Tom Cruise's birthday.
Is it really?
It is.
Interesting. I don't know if I share a birthday with anybody famous.
Me and the man with the highest grossing dollars movie in the world right now share the same birthday. He's also a Scientologist, but we don't discriminate here on the Uncontested.
So Kamir, how surprised were you that they did pick up Isaiah Roby's contract? I think I personally, I thought like 100% they're not picking this thing up.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. It was just so funny, right? Because you felt like Muscala was a great part of the team these past 2 years, and especially like even as a leadership role, as one of the older guys on the teams. And like I asked just the other day, like, hey, in the Slack, like, hey, on this team, who's the enforcer? Is it somebody said Kenrich, nobody said Mike, and I thought it was interesting. But at the same time, like, Mike plays winning basketball. I mean, he played decent defense when he was in OKC, and he shot really well from beyond the arc, and I thought was a good mentor toward the young people. So maybe he's just the guy that they are wanting to move on from, just for the youth movement that they're getting themselves into. Maybe they're prolonging the tank a little bit longer, or not the prolonging the tank, prolonging the coming out of the tank a little bit longer with that move. Or I mean, it just might be a numbers thing. Again, you just brought in two big guys, and it was pretty blatant that you did give Isaiah Roby that opportunity and not Mike Muscala.
Do you think Isaiah Roby makes it past that non-guarantee day on July 3rd?
It's like 5 days from now.
Yeah. I've kind of wondered, and again, I question everything now because apparently everything I thought that was going to happen was wrong. But I wonder if part of picking up Isaiah Roby's option is like, hey, we're going to pick you up. We're going to take you through summer league. We're going to get to training camp. We're going to pay you your money. And then we'll let you compete for an opportunity to make this team in training camp. And he might get cut then. But it's almost as like we're going to watch out for you and we're going to get you your money type of thing. But then the flip side of that is like, well, shit, if you cut him in October, there's nobody else that'll pick him up. If you just didn't exercise your option now, he would at least be a free agent and could go get on somebody else's summer league team and try to make a roster, make a two-way spot. It's setting up kind of to where he might be on this roster next year, which is something I did not think. Like, he was like number 2 or 3 on my board of this guy's not going to be here next year.
Yeah, that seems fair. I mean, I didn't expect Roby to be a part of the future.
Gary Cicero from the chat brings up a good point. He says, I wonder if Sam talked to Mike and asked him if he wanted to stay or wanted to help him out and let him hit free agency. I would assume there's a lot of mutual respect between Sam Presti in the front office and Mike Muscala. I would assume there were multiple discussions leading up to this decision. It's just kind of fascinating. Like, I also don't think Presti has got this, what's the word I'm looking for? This reputation of getting guys where they want to go. We saw it with Chris Paul. We saw it with Russell Westbrook. We saw it with Paul George. I think he's got enough respect for Mike Muscala that he probably wouldn't have just cut him and thrown him to free agency without knowing that there are deals out there for him that would be beneficial for Mike. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think I would agree with that. And it's just just really interesting, just how all this came about with Mike Muscala. Again, it's just like one of the things where the fans really like him, right? That's a big part. Like, oh, that really sucks. It's a bummer. But it would make a lot of sense. I mean, we kept on talking about him, Kenrich Williams, and Lou Dort as trade pieces at the deadline. And it would make sense that maybe Sam could have been shopping Mike Muscala around there and not found a right fit for Mike, and at the end of the season let him go, or Mike just doesn't want to play basketball again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm going to be fascinated to see kind of how this unfolds, especially going into free agency tomorrow. Again, I'm very surprised at the Isaiah Roby decision. And part of me still thinks that this is a guy that's going to be on the roster until training camp and then get cut or get waived and still make his money, because you've got to make the cut somewhere. And I just don't see him being a long-term fit with the team. But what the hell do I know? So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens with both of these guys when the exact opposite of what we thought was going to happen came to pass today. Also, if Mike Muscala is gone and he doesn't come back to this team in free agency, not only are we missing out on Mike Muscala being the mentor to Chet, but we're missing out on Mike's dad and Chet's dad being in the stands together, with Chet's dad with the camcorder. And that's like a crime against humanity. We deserved that.
You think Mike's dad and Chet's dad get along?
It's a good question. Mike's dad's an interesting cat, to say the least.
He's a great guy.
They're both from Minnesota, though. They could
Minnesota.
just talk to each other in their Minnesota accents.
That it's real, people. I've been up in them parts.
Yeah, it's the O's sound like ooze, and it would have been a treat to see those two together. But alas, maybe we don't get the opportunity. The biggest news of the day, though, Kamiar, this one probably the most surprising. Oklahoma City, per Shams, Oklahoma City has declined Dort's player option, making him a restricted free agent starting tomorrow at 6 p.m. In the wording of Shams' tweet, he said, quote, which makes him a free agent and allows the two sides to negotiate a new deal in free agency. Feels like that wording is very specific, that maybe Shams has heard that the Thunder did not pick up the option and made him a free agent so they could sign him to a longer term deal. I think that's kind of what everyone expects. But what the interesting part of this was at the rookies' initial press conference on Saturday, the 4 rookies plus Sam Presti. Presti said, quote, I would just plan on that happening unless something changes, in reference to the team picking up Lou's option. So he said, it's going to happen. We're going to pick it up, and he's going to be on our team for one more year. He then went on to say, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but went on to say he'll be an unrestricted free agent next summer, and then we can pick up those discussions again. Apparently something changed in the past couple of days because they did not pick up the option. He becomes a restricted free agent. For our listeners that do not know the difference between restricted and unrestricted free agency, Lou Dort can go get an offer sheet from anywhere, but the Thunder have the opportunity to match that offer sheet and keep him in Oklahoma City.
Same thing happened with Cantor.
Yes. And Cantor went out and got an offer sheet as well from Portland. Got that max. So, Kamiar, there's a lot of things to break down here. First question. What do you think happened between Saturday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon that changed the Thunder's thought process from picking up that option to not picking up that option?
I mean, the one that's like just dangling fruit, right? The one that's just like right there is like, oh, he wanted more money, right? That's the one that's the hanging fruit that you can go after.
He wanted more money, and now they've come down.
Yeah, right. That's the hanging fruit there. That seems pretty easy to say, like, oh, well, there's this. Other things that could have happened. I'm not honestly too sure. Like, other than, like you said, signing him to a longer deal over time instead of extending that, I don't know. That's a good question. I thought it was interesting. I mean, the man doesn't want to continue to get paid like way less than he's valued at, and maybe wants to test his value at the market.
See, that's the interesting part, though, is they could have picked up the option, kept him on the team for this next season at like $1.8 million, and still discussed and signed a contract extension. They're not going that route. They could have kept him on roster next year for the $1.8 million, let him hit unrestricted free agency, and then re-signed him, kind of like what the Thunder did with Jeremy Grant. God, what was that now? 4 years ago? Jeremy Grant, it was the same exact situation as Dort. I don't know what changed. I'm with you. Either A, it has to be that the two sides were too far apart on a dollar amount, and now they are not that far apart on a dollar amount, and so they decided to do this. Option B, which I haven't seen discussed a lot on like social media and other Thunder platforms, and I don't really think this one is it, but I think it deserves its time in the sun and it deserves a discussion. What if Dort and his representation looked at what the Thunder drafted, especially with J-Dub, and said, hey, we've think Dort is going to get less of an opportunity in OKC now, why don't you decline the option, make him a restricted free agent, and let's work a sign and trade to get Lou somewhere else where maybe he'll have more of an opportunity, where his spot isn't so flooded with young guys that are going to need time and need minutes and need touches. I don't think that one is the case, but I at least think it deserves some discussion.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. That this idea has been floated, and it's obviously been tested by Sam Presti himself. That Lou Dort is certainly expendable. He is a guy that Sam Presti is willing to deal to another team for something else, as he did to try to move up in the draft even last year. And so it's quite possible that you've already got Trey Man there. You have Josh Giddey, who's played off ball several times. Not Josh Giddey, it's just Shea. Well, Josh Giddey too. Both play off ball, but Shea, the more talented shooter, playing off ball several times throughout their careers. And now you bring in Jalen Williams, Jada, whatever, the one from the one from Santa Clara. And you bring in these combo guards that are better shooters. They're bigger, they're longer, and you kind of see your position and you're like, okay, well, where does this leave me? Especially as OKC continues to draft even bigger ball handlers. And so it's very possible they would want to mount a, hey, they want to do a sign and trade for somebody else, like you just suggested, like trying to find that route out of OKC, because it seems like he may not be a part of the future, which I think a lot of people would say they would want Dort to be a part of the future. But do you realistically think Dort is a starting shooting guard for a championship winning team?
I think he can get there. I think he's like your fourth or fifth starter, though, right? I think, like, as far as the pecking order is concerned, he at his peak, he's probably number 4, number 5. I mean, I think Lou is really good. Another option that kind of just came to me: Dort is restricted, so any offer sheet he gets, the Thunder can match. Maybe the Thunder started digging in a little bit deeper. We saw the days start to run together to now. Last night was when Detroit took in Burks and Nerlens Noel for cash and some second round picks.
Yep.
So Detroit's cap space is essentially spent now. I think they have like 10 million left in cap space. Nobody else has significant cap space right now, with the exception of the Knicks, who are very clearly have other plans. Maybe the Thunder, after that Detroit move, the Thunder looked at the landscape and said, oh, well, if we pick up the option next year, he's an unrestricted free agent, and there's going to be 8 teams with projected cap space. But right now, after Detroit just spent all theirs, there's only 4 teams with cap space, and those 4 teams probably aren't going to offer Dort. So maybe this is our best path forward, because he's going to have a hard time getting that offer sheet out in restricted free agency. Maybe the Thunder are just trying to play a numbers game here and saying, hey, if you think you're worth, your agent's saying you want $20 million a year, you think you're worth it? Go find the offer sheet.
You think Presti would do that to Dort?
I don't know. Right. I think Presti tries to do right by his players. I also think there's some give and take, and at some point you have to put your foot down. I have no clue, right? I'm just spitballing here, but I think that's another option. Is there's not a lot of teams with cap space. The Knicks, maybe if the Knicks miss out on Brunson, they go and throw $20 million at Lou Dort. Shit, I don't know, but I think that's an interesting that's another possibility of why this decision was made. Maybe it came after Detroit's cap space got eaten up.
I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens. Of course, I think a lot of people would want Lou Dort still on the team currently as it grows, but I don't think Oklahoma City fans would necessarily be that sad to see Lou gone eventually. And that's the weird part about it, right? It's like, yeah, you would like him here currently, but you don't know if you would actually win him the OKC a title. It's one of
Yeah.
those situations. And so I don't know. I'm intrigued. I don't know. I don't know why. It's what changed because of those comments that were public. I mean, if there were no public comments, we would think about this differently, right? But
100%.
since there were public comments about what one day happened, and then a couple days go by, and then another thing happens, you suggest what happened since then. You look at what's happened in the NBA publicly. You don't know what's happened privately behind the scenes among the GMs that talk with each other. And then I just don't think. I also don't think Sam Presti would pull the rug from Lou Dort at the very end. With like, well, I don't think you're going to be
Yeah.
worth that much in
Yeah.
restricted free
Psych.
agency. Like,
It
because
doesn't feel like a
they
Presti move.
view OKC as like a first class like organization, and I don't think that's what kind of Presti is about.
I think that's fair. It's like you said, we don't know what conversations are happening behind the scenes. We see not even the tip of the iceberg. And so it's so hard operating with such little information to kind of read between the lines and figure out what is going on and what prompted this change. Let me ask you this. Let's say Lou Dort tomorrow at 6 p.m. goes out and meets with teams and gets an offer sheet and signs an offer sheet, and the Thunder have 3 days to match.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Would you blame him?
No, not at all. But
Can you hear my peanuts?
What is the number on an offer sheet that gets too high for you to say, yeah, OKC should match that, or shouldn't match that? I guess I should say. At what point do you say, I don't think that's worth it, let him walk?
And how much did the cap just jump today? By how much?
I think it was projected like 11.5 million.
And how much is OKC?
OKC is not in danger of hitting the tax next year.
Yeah, I know. Do you know how much cap space are they gonna have when Shea kicks in
next season?
Uh-huh.
Like starting tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Yep.
$0 in cap space. 2023 summer, upwards of 60 million in cap space. That's whenever the Kemba number comes off the books. That's when Kyle Singler finally comes off the books. That's when Derek Favors comes off the books. They will clear a metric shit ton of dollars in 2023. That's why we've been talking about the summer of 2023 so much. They will have upwards of 60 million in cap space that summer, but no cap space this summer.
What does Marcus Smart get a year?
Ooh, that's a fun question. Let's look it up. Great podcasting here as I Google live on the show.
It is great podcasting. I'm Googling too. See?
Marcus Smart contract. He's at 4 for 76.
How many is that a year? I'm bad at math.
The average is 19. He goes 16.6, 18.5, 19.9, and then 21.3.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. And of course, that was from the last cap, but or that's from the last cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm still saying I would walk away past anything past anything 19 or over. I think 18 is pretty solid, but with this, especially with the cap expecting to be jumping, and to be going up even more after that, right? I think anything over 18, maybe even 17, would be much. I wouldn't sign him even closer for 20. I'm close.
I think it's interesting because if you did, let's say he did want 4 years, 80 million. I think you can do that and he's still tradable. Like I think 20 million under the new cap is a pretty tradable number. I'd be comfortable at like 4 for 60 though. 4 years, each year averages out to about 15 million per.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be a great contract.
I think that's fair market value. Welcome back, Taylor, to the podcast.
Back from dealing with a screaming baby and barking dogs. All three of the kiddos acting up.
There you go. Taylor, what is the number for a contract that Lou Dort could go get in restricted free agency? Where's the number at where you would say, I don't think it's worth matching?
Ooh, like 15, 16 a year. Does that seem too low? Like to
That
not
feels
want to match?
low. That feels really low to me. Kamiar said
Really?
19 or 20. I think
Okay.
that's a pretty good number. I would still consider that, but that's getting in the red zone right there. That's getting in the
It is. It
I'm starting to
definitely
clench
is.
my butt cheeks a little bit area at that point.
The more and more I thought about this, and I know you guys probably already talked about this, but it does feel like, the fact that Presti said something would have to change for them not to pick up that team option and lose contract, and the fact that they did not do that leads me to believe that, believe it or not, I think they might have been talking to Lou and his agency, Wasserman, who they have a really close relationship with before the deadline, might be tampering. But I think they probably have come to a conclusion that Lou wants to be in OKC. OKC wants to have him, and he's willing to take maybe a little less, which is why I kind of threw that number out there. Like I think anywhere in probably 14 to 16 million is what he'll end up getting per year with OKC.
So let's wrap up the Lou discussion because right now it's just speculation. Maybe tomorrow night, maybe Friday, we'll have a lot more to talk about with Lou after the dust settles and we know what's happened. But of these three options, which one do you guys think is most likely to happen? Option A is Lou just signs a new contract with Oklahoma City and they move forward. Option B is Lou goes out and gets an offer sheet from another team. Option C, the Thunder sign and trade Lou Dort somewhere else. If you had to put those three things in order, from most likely to least likely, how are you ranking them?
1, 2, and 3.
See, I was thinking 1-3-2. I think it's very unlikely Lou. The Thunder wouldn't have let Lou go into restricted free agency unless they're just trying to do him a solid. Like, see if you can go out there and get the best offer you can. I don't think they would be doing that unless they either, like I said, the most likely situation, and I know Kamiar agrees with this as well, is that Presti and Wasserman already essentially have an agreement in place on what that contract going to look like come 5 p.m. tomorrow. The second situation would be there is a good situation for him out there. Wasserman's communicated that with Presti, and they're ready to, get the thumbs up, green light on a sign and trade.
Yeah. Okay, that was sign and trade option. So that option number 2 I mentioned, he goes out and gets an offer sheet.
Oh, sorry, I got them mixed
the Thunder
up.
can still.
I was thinking that was 3.
Right? Like the Thunder could still match that. But to me, Taylor, while you were out, Kamiar and I talked about this. That doesn't feel very Presti-ish.
Agreed.
Just doesn't.
He's never done that. Never done
except
that.
with Cantor.
Oh, that's true. When Cantor got the offer sheet from Portland.
Yeah, because Cantor wanted more, and that's quite a situation. That Nick's talked about it, right? That's where Lou thinks he's deserved more than what he has been getting, especially what he's sacrificed over the last couple of years, right? Thinks he's owed his payday, even more of maybe get a little bit extra cash back for playing at that high of a level for the last few years.
Yeah, on such a discount.
If you're being that honest. And they're like, no, you go get that offer sheet in the NBA, and maybe we'll sign that situation. Maybe a Cantor situation where Cantor came in, doubled every single thing with Steven Adams and wanted that offer sheet, and he got one in Portland.
Yeah. Now that is the interesting thing, right? Is that they technically could have exercised that option and still came to an agreement with him or worked to trade him. And instead, just the whole restricted free agency thing really kind of throws a wrench into everything. So I really think it has to be one of the two. Either there's a sign and trade option out there, or they know the agreement they have in place. It's going to make both sides happy, being Lou and OKC. We'll see. I'm excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting to speculate about it. And like Jake and I said before you joined us back again, that this is totally different if Presti doesn't say anything beforehand. And
True. That's a
because
good
he
point.
did, everybody's like, ooh, that's interesting. And so if nothing happens and things kind of go boring according to plan on with whatever tomorrow and there is a new contract announced, cool. But if that doesn't, I'm really gonna be intrigued to read the article written by Waj to see what happened and what went down.
It's a good point. Yeah,
It's gonna be
maybe
fascinating.
look, Presti was focused on the draft, on the new players coming into OKC that day. Maybe he just misspoke. Something would have to change
The most
for us not to.
the most calculated GM in the league just
He just misspoke.
accidentally misspoke on contract negotiations.
Exactly.
I'm teasing Taylor. I'm teasing.
Exactly.
It's interesting. 3 things happened today. With the Thunder. None of them went how I expected them to go. Absolutely none of them. So, what the hell do we
So when
know?
Dort and Roby are traded for DeAndre Ayton tomorrow, that
Shut
technically
up.
can't happen because sign trades. I don't think you can. But anyways,
All right. Well, hey, let's tell the people about where they can buy our shirts from and about who's supporting the podcast this week. Then let's talk some league-wide free agency. What's up, Thunder fans? This is Jacob from the Uncontested Podcast, and I'm here to let you know that we have fully redesigned our merch store to get you the best Thunder swag available. Just visit cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to find all of our new designs. That's cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to find new drops like Josh Giddey's Wizard of Oz or an ode to the Trey Man Step Back. We've also got all the classics like Dortal Combat, Wu Tang Clan, and everyone's favorite MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The best part? You can get any design and the style of apparel you want. So if you're gearing up for the summer and want a tank top, needing a hoodie for the winter in Australia, or you're wanting a Pokemon onesie for your baby, we've got you covered. Make sure to go to cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to get your new Thunder gear today. And we are back. Gentlemen, before we do a free agency pick'em, we had a pretty seismic trade in the NBA today.
Seismic.
That's a good word. Reminds me of a seismic toss, the move you could teach your Pokemon.
Yep, like
Yeah,
Rhydon
Charizard.
and Machamp and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's great. Pokemon's the
We're
best.
such nerds.
The original 151.
Both Kami and I were like, yes.
And
Charizard,
then
Rhydon.
since school's been out, since my research stuff has been turned in, I've been turning up on Pokemon Go again. So
There you
it's
go.
been an adventure.
Yes.
Just gotta live the dream, man.
Yeah,
So
you gotta catch them all. You know.
Woj reports today that the Atlanta Hawks have traded Danilo Gallinari, 3 future first-round picks, 2 being Hawks picks, 1 being a Charlotte pick. The 2 Hawks picks are completely unprotected, and a pick swap.
Charlotte's lotto protected?
I think it's lotto protected. I think that's correct. In return for Dejounte Murray. Calmer, if you had to grade that trade for the Atlanta Hawks, what grade would you give it?
It's a great question. Am I being like an empathetic teacher that is trying to understand the Hawks situation, or am I being just like a professor and just like giving it kind of straight to them?
I don't know. That's your choice.
All right, we'll go a solid. We'll go a solid B-. I didn't like the trade for the Hawks. I mean, okay, yes, they're still shopping John Collins. Yes, they're still shopping. They were shopping Danilo Gallinari, having Trae Young on the court at the same time as having Danilo Gallinari and Kevin Huerter. is like a defensive nightmare, right? You can't hide Trey, or really anybody on that entire team. No matter how many times you throw Clint Capella out there, you just can't hide anybody with 3 really big defensive liabilities. So you take that, and I like that. I like that you are replacing Danilo Gallinari with Dejounte Murray, who was an all-star, right? Defensive guy, but can be a ball handler, and let Trey play more off ball, give more catch and shoot opportunities and stuff like that. It's not that necessarily; it's what they gave up to the Spurs. And what I think the Spurs should have done this a while ago, anyways. It was go in on rebuilding mode and finally start like from the ground up. And they get 2 draft picks, right? Danilo Gallinari, which they're going to flip for something else, and another lotto protected draft pick. So, I mean, I saw a meme today that said, it was the principal from The Simpsons, and it says OKC looking at the draft picks that the Spurs just got, and he's like, "It's pathetic." But I don't know how much it's going to move the needle when the Atlanta Hawks are all full and done with what they're doing with their roster reconstruction around Trey. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, totally does. Totally does. Taylor, if you had to grade the trade on the Hawks side, where would you put it at? Taylor, you're muted.
You're muted, bro.
This is one of those trades I really like for both sides. I'm going to give it an A, because look, that when you think about the playoffs, the Hawks needed that point of it. They needed that primary attacker. And to Connor's point, this all comes down to Trey playing off ball, which we'll see if that actually happens. But you add another elite defender alongside Trey. You have all the assets that Connor mentioned. I think there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Dejounte Murray is a really good defender. He's a really good point of attack defender. But like you guys mentioned, when it comes playoff time, you hunt the weak link and you attack it over and over and over. And that is Trey defensively. So It's going to be really fascinating to see how that works. So that's going to be interesting. I don't think, Kamiar, that either of these teams are done yet. You mentioned
because John Collins is definitely not done.
Yeah, I think John Collins is getting moved. Do you think anybody, I mean, this is like a bit of a tank move by San Antonio, but I think they're at the point now where it's shit or get off the pot. You traded Dejounte. Is Jakob Poeltl next? Is Keldon Johnson next? Is Lonnie Walker the 4th next? Like, they still have the remnants of a functional basketball team. I wonder if the Spurs have any more moves to really bottom themselves out and start playing a lot of these young guys.
How old is Keldon? He is like mid-20s, isn't he?
That's a great question that I'm going to look up right now.
Because I really like Keldon, Josh Primo, right?
Keldon is only 22 years old.
Oh gosh, and Josh Primo is young, yeah,
crazy young.
And so, I mean, this feels like the rebuilding move, does it not?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if
they should have done it last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Well,
the Dejounte Murray stock wouldn't have been as high, I guess.
Yeah, he's coming off that All-Star season. If you had to bet, does Dejounte Murray make another All-Star appearance in his career?
No,
I don't think so either. Especially
not.
now playing next to Trey. So very interesting. I would not be surprised if we see the Spurs trade Jakob Poeltl as well in the next 5 to 7 days, and then really just kind of bottom out and play those young guys. They have a lot of young wings, and firmly plant their flag on Tank Island for next season. That would not surprise me.
They've been fringe for the longest time, and that's what's been dragging them down. They've been like in rebuilding mode, but they've had the roster for rebuilding mode, but they just wouldn't.
They just want to pull the trigger.
They wouldn't pull the trigger on it, and so now that signaled to me today. Oh, okay. The Spurs are immediately going to now start effectively rebuilding. that franchise and going through the draft, and also already having a bevy of young players that are worth a damn.
Yeah. Logan in the chat brings up a really good question. He says, yeah, Pop's probably out on the development.
Yeah, I think it also signaled the end of Pop.
You guys think he's back next season for one more round, or is he done?
I think he's back.
You
What
think
was
he's
it?
back?
Stein and somebody else had a tweet out. I thought I kept it, but maybe I did not. Basically saying that he was excited about it. Like he signed off on the Murray trade and like was excited to come back and coach these young guys because it reminded him of, I can't remember the name of the small school he started at, the small college he started at in his coaching career. But they quoted it saying that it reminded him of that again.
Oh,
Apparently he's excited about it. So maybe like one more year. Stein mentioned this is like I believe the Spurs. Gosh, what was the anniversary that the NBA just had? 75th, 70th?
Yeah, 75th.
75th.
I think the Spurs like are coming up on that anniversary as well. I'm not going to scroll through all those tweets to find that and be accurate. All that to say, Stein also mentioned like when Pop came into the Spurs his first season, they're kind of coming out of a rebuild. And the fact that he would like kind of be kicking off the new rebuild as his last year as a coach, was kind of a fun parallel there that Stein made. All that to say, I kind of think he will be for one more season, and then Snyder comes in. And I think that's pretty much a done deal.
Interesting. Yeah, Quinn Snyder has not picked up a job yet, so maybe he's waiting in the folds there. That'd be interesting. Maybe they bring Snyder on to replace Becky Hammond.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, before we get out of here, since it is free agency eve, we got to do a quick free agency pick 'em, where I'm going to tell you guys the name of a free agent. You two tell me what team that free agent is going to sign with. Okay? We're just going to go rapid fire here. Both of you guys give me an answer. First one at the top of the list on Spotrac, James Harden, who opted out today.
No, he's signing back.
For less. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, signing back.
Both you guys say Philly. John Wall,
Son
who
of a bitch.
got bought out.
Clippers.
Yeah, Clippers, obviously.
He's going to play with Lou.
Man, that Harden stuff
Tyler.
makes me mad. Whatever.
I know. They're going to get
Now
PJ
he
Tucker
does it.
because
It's
of it.
because they're older now. I get it, but I'm still mad.
Hey,
Whatever.
According to Shams, he is in the gym already and is in shape and ready to go.
You know where he's also
The
in?
Spurs just understood it at
District
a younger age, and that just makes me so much angrier.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, another guy that opted out today, Bradley Beal.
Wizards. He's going to sign that Supermax tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll probably
thing's-
sign a Supermax. As much as
Still might
I'd
get
love to
traded,
see him
like,
against,
a couple
as much as
seasons.
I'd love to see him with another superstar once again, like Dame or somebody like that, because Kyrie's going back to Brooklyn. I think he's gonna end up with Washington once again. I think he likes it there.
Yeah, they traded for his point guard today, Monte Morris.
Yeah,
Right. And that max with Calmier, we talked earlier about the new salary cap. That max is 5-year, $250 million. I heard today that the 5th year is worth 57 mil.
Do you know
That
what's
has like Russell Westbrook last year potential, if not worse.
Yeah.
like, what's wild is like we think that's a lot of money, right? You go to sports with no caps and like
Oh, it's child's play.
like soccer, the
MLB
Spanish
baseball?
league, the Spanish leagues, baseball, the English leagues and soccer with no cap. That's like chump change in comparison to like
It's
other
crazy to
sports.
me. Some of those
Crazy.
MLB players get like 10-year, $350 million
Yes.
contracts.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
it's
what the
stupid.
hell are we doing? Here's a fun one that you guys just have to pull a name out of a hat. Gary Harris.
Ooh.
Who needs a shooting guard that they
Oh.
hope comes out of a slump?
Lakers. 110% need it. They're going to have to waive somebody in order to do it. Sign up to a
Give him
minimum.
the minimum.
But that's like exactly.
Because KCP,
Who
where
else?
KCP go?
He's now in Denver.
Troy Weaver.
Because of
The Monte Morris trade today.
Yeah.
okay.
Monte Morris.
Some people talk about Gary Harris to Detroit.
I don't think that happens now. I mean, it still could. They could take Gary Harris on for like draft assets. I don't know why they would do that. I think they want to keep
Gary
that room
Harris
open now.
now is like that would have excited me like 4 years ago.
Yeah, he's a bench guy now.
Yeah,
All right,
like-
give me your predictions.
I
What do we
don't
got?
know. I don't
Just take
know.
you got 30 teams to pick
Toronto. He's
All
gonna
right.
go- he likes the cold. He
from.
yep.
Taylor, give me a name.
Oh, I'll go Lakers. They'll
Nope.
waive somebody, make a little bit of room, and bring him on for the vet minimum.
I'm changing my answer.
I don't think
again.
Gary Harris is super high in demand right now.
Who are you changing your answer to?
I'm changing it to Detroit because
Huh.
he apparently likes the cold and he played at Michigan State. Therefore, he would be going
Ooh.
There we
back home
go.
to Michigan. I don't know.
Hey,
a
Gary
better
Harris
guess
to
than mine.
Michigan, Amani Bates up to Michigan. It just makes
Jeez, that's
sense.
Mike
terrible.
Bates,
Next
ugh.
one. This one's probably easy for you guys. Zach LaVine.
Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago.
We'll see who picks this guy up. Coming off an injury, Ricky Rubio, currently in Indiana.
Cleveland. He's going back to Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Very confident about that.
Oh, he's very confident about it.
Sources tell me tested.
Cleveland is cool. Man, I could. Who else needs a realistic point guard that is gonna actually spend a decent amount of minutes? That could play. Do you think Ricky Rubio could play in a championship team?
Oh, Phoenix could use a backup. I
Yeah,
don't
I was
really
thinking
trust in
Milwaukee.
campaign. Milwaukee's a great one.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I
Ricky
think
Rubio's.
he'd be a bench guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Give you 15 minutes a night.
Would you? Yeah, would you prefer Ricky Rubio, or campaign?
Rubio.
If Rubio comes back healthy, Rubio. I thought you were
But
about
at
to say
the same
Ricky
time,
Rubio
like how
or
much
Mitchell,
money?
and I was
How
gonna
much?
kick
How
you
much
off the
money
podcast.
does Rubio want though?
It's a great question.
Very
At
good
this
point.
point is
After
in
the
his
injury, though,
career.
you might be able to get away with a
Yeah,
cheap contract.
I have no idea on Rubio.
Next one. Let's go with a real fun one. DeAndre Ayton.
Ooh.
Where's he at next year?
Oh, okay. I have two teams. One of them's not so much of a wild card, but still a little out there. The other one's like, I think it's less realistic, but I do love the idea of it. The two teams are the Toronto Raptors and the Minnesota Timberwolves, because apparently they are all about the center position and not trying to get like the Dejounte Murray point guard, combo guard, wing position.
Okay, so Toronto or Minnesota for Taylor. Kamiar, who
I'll
are
say Toronto between the two, though. I'll go ahead and say
Okay.
Toronto.
Kamiar, where does DeAndre get signed and traded to? Or does he go back to Phoenix?
He's
That's a
gonna
hard
go back. He's gonna go back to Phoenix. He wants to win a title.
I'm gonna
He'll
throw
take
my
less.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring on this one as well. I'm going Indiana.
Oh,
Sign and
Miles
trade with
Turner.
Miles Turner.
Now we're talking. I like it.
Ugh.
Hey, look.
Slow
Ayton, Bill Duffy, agent. Chet, J-Dub, Bill Duffy, agent.
Stop.
Dort, Ayton, sign and trade. Ayton to
Stop.
OKC. We
Slow mo
championship.
Kyle Anderson is a free agent from Memphis. Where's he gonna end up at?
Yeah. That's kind of a gross one. I mean, he was fine last year. He's been fine the past couple of
Yeah,
seasons,
he's
but
kind of
not
just like an
more than
average
that.
wing in the NBA,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
But I mean, that Memphis was the
Oh.
2 seed in the West.
I got him going
Oh.
back to Memphis. They'll keep
Yeah.
him around.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. I was
that's-
about to say I was gonna be very surprised if he wasn't back in Memphis, unless they had to change their plans.
I was kind of thinking about the Celtics, but I think that would have to be some sort of trade. I think I
Yeah.
read that they were being active in trade talks, not necessarily trying to make cap space. So, yeah, I was just trying to think of a team like a competitor that wanted a wing that could get him for a fairly decent deal. But Memphis is a safe pick there.
PJ Tucker.
Oh, Philadelphia. I feel like that's another one that's pretty much set in stone now.
Yeah, Billy.
Especially after Harden opted out to open up money.
Agreed.
That one feels right. Here's an interesting one who is an unrestricted free agent. His team did not offer him the qualifying offer.
Ooh.
Mo Bamba.
Oh, this
I got
is very fun.
hoes.
Come.
This is a difficult one
The
for me.
G
at
so
least.
difficult. There's so many teams that want them.
Yeah, there's so many G League teams.
I heard the Rock. Heard the Rockets. Speaking of G League teams, I heard the Rockets. Kidding.
I kind of like.
I like
think
what
the
Rockets are
Rockets
doing.
make some sense.
Oh, that'd be such a fun team.
Is that
as
your
much as I
pick,
hate to admit
Rockets?
it. No, I can't say the Raptors though, because I already said 8 in there. So yeah, it's okay. Sure, I'll say the Rockets now.
Kamiar, who's your Mo team?
Can I just not say the G League?
Sure. My Mo team will be.
You wanted him in OKC for so long.
that could be
I
a fun
did.
Timberwolves team. Maybe.
He's gonna be a
Maybe.
Nick. He's gonna be a Nick.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, when Nerlens
Interesting.
going.
Yep.
it's a good point.
Another fun one. Restricted free agent Colin Sexton. Is he back in Cleveland, or do
This
they
is
let him go
another
somewhere
really
else?
tough one. Oh,
He's back in
man.
Cleveland. He's back in Cleveland, despite how I'm pretty sure the majority of the Cleveland fan base does not prefer him over Garland. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think he can
Yeah.
come back and play off the bench in Cleveland. I'm with you, Kamiar. I'm saying Cleveland. He's gonna stay.
I have no other team that really makes sense for. He was linked to Detroit, which doesn't make any sense anymore. I think I have to agree.
I say Cleveland, but not necessarily with the intention of a long-term
Yeah.
stay.
Next one, a guy that apparently beat the shit out of his girlfriend tonight,
Yeah.
and probably really
Jeez.
ruined his shot in the NBA.
Yeah.
What?
And might just be a scumbag. Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges got arrested in LA tonight, like literally when we started the podcast.
I did not
I
know.
I texted
didn't.
you guys.
I'm not checking my phone during the podcast. I'm a professional, Taylor. I unmute my
Unlike
mic.
me.
No. I didn't know that. Dude, that dude's. That dude.
Yeah, he's kinda screwed now.
He was set up for a max and then got picked up for domestic violence. Tonight.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a felony. That's it.
Topher.
He gone. Yeah, yeah, that's not good. It's not good. He's done.
Yeah.
He's done. That career.
Yeah,
career's
If that didn't happen, my team was Detroit for him.
unless they can prove whatever.
was-
But he was charged with a felony. So that he's
Yeah.
done.
Yep. I was thinking Pacers
That sucks.
was the other
Okay.
team I was kind of wondering about. But yeah, that really sucks.
Like for her.
But yeah,
yes.
I was gonna
Not
say,
for
yeah,
him. Not for him missing out on the money.
Screw that guy.
If
Agreed.
it's legit and he beat his girlfriend, yeah. F him. He's
Like
done.
seriously, like that's terrible.
Yep.
Next one. Mike Muscala.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, I can see Milwaukee so easily.
Makes some sense.
I mean,
man.
they had Ilyasovich for a minute,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
he would fit so well. And just to go back in your home, right? That's pretty special. That would fit him so well. And they had Teletovich for a minute too, didn't they?
I
Miami.
think so.
Oh.
Here's my Muscala team. He's going back to Philly.
Oh, I like that.
He's gonna back up.
Actually, that's a really good
Man,
that's a fun fit,
OKC is
too.
like the rehab center of the league. I swear to God, for careers like CP3.
That's what I'm saying. Who's it going to be
CP3,
tomorrow?
Al
Kamiar?
Horford, Mike Muscala,
Michael Green, might
Moses
just stay.
Brown, but then like now Moses Brown is out of the league. After who went after OKC for trading Moses?
Mavericks, and
No.
then
No. Who went
dunks.
after them?
No
oh,
dunks.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
no
no,
dunks
sorry,
went after
you're
them.
talking- yeah,
And
gotcha.
they're like you think he's worth the whatever overall pick? Yes, we think he's worth less than that, and it was proved today. so,
he's a walking double.
yeah.
I'm
Jeez.
looking through the rest of the free agent class. There's not a lot of really fun names.
Not really big names.
Yeah,
Ooh, Patty Mills opted out today. I wanted to give
I
you
always
guys
sign
thoughts
for
on
less
Patty.
money. He's going back to the Nets.
He'll go back.
I'm taking Nets as well on that.
They've all realized, like everybody's realizing,
old.
hey,
We've
we're
made our
old.
money.
We want a ring chase now. That's where they're at.
Fair. There's
Let's
one
do a
other,
couple
too.
more
Oh,
real quick.
Sacramento
Brunson.
Kings guy.
Oh, Dante DiVincenzo. We'll
Yeah.
do him next. Jalen Brunson.
Knicks.
I think Knicks too, but
Yeah.
I love the idea of Miami. So I don't know.
I don't, just because I dislike the franchise Miami.
I like the Miami
I
franchise. How
just
can you
like-
not love
I
any
kinda like 'em
team that Jimmy
too.
Butler is not associated with? How can you not like
Also
a
known as
Jimmy
the
Butler
Sons of
team?
the East, apparently.
I like Miami. I dislike Miami fans. Is that fair?
That's fine.
That's
The
fair.
constant
fine.
hashtag heat culture just annoys me.
Okay, yes.
I mean,
that is
like,
fair.
I'm sure other fans are very annoyed by like Oklahoma Sooner fans because they have like the biggest presence on Twitter, which is annoying. And for many fan bases. But I mean, the Knicks make too much sense, even though the Heat would be fun.
Agreed.
The Knicks are gonna pay in that situation to go straight to hell is gonna be so funny to watch because the Knicks are gonna nick.
Here's a guy that didn't get his option picked up today. I mentioned where you guys think he will land. Jayshawn Tate, who Rockets fans compared to Lou Dort, but he's 26 years old.
They were like, he's better than Lou Dort.
Like he's also half a
He's
decade
only a
older than Lou Dort.
rookie, a 26-year-old rookie.
Yeah, I think he's gonna end up in the G League or playing overseas soon. I don't think that's a career that's gonna pan out unless somebody's just really looking for a fringe defensive specialist, right?
This is all like off the top of my head. I don't have like cap space available, that kind of thing, but like feels like a kind of guy that the Utah Jazz would take a flyer on, right? They need wing defenders.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
I just don't know if they can do it.
Okay, let's end with this one, and then we'll close out the podcast. Lugens Dort.
It's a fun one. Toronto Raptors. No, I'm pretty certain that him and his representation have worked out a deal, or have alluded to a deal that they would accept with Presti. I think he ends up on a long-term contract that benefits both sides, being the Thunder and Dort. That's also still tradable a year or two into that contract.
Okay, so you got Oklahoma City for Lou. Kamiar?
Yeah, it's Oklahoma City for now.
That's what I'm going with as well. Can't go with anything else until it happens. It's just too hard to predict. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We recorded a late one tonight, but YouTube was still popping. We really, really appreciate that. We will be live on Twitter Spaces on Friday. So come hang out with us. Maybe we'll hop on and do something. Taylor and I were talking about maybe doing something to start a free agency Thursday night. I ain't got anything going on. So be on the lookout. Maybe we'll be on YouTube. Maybe we'll be on Twitter Spaces. Hang out with us Thursday night for free agency as well. And then we're back with a normal podcast Sunday night, 9 p.m. We really, really appreciate you guys. Hey, we have Utah Summer League soon. And then we'll be boots on the ground in Vegas for Vegas Summer League. Cannot wait. We got you guys covered with everything. So keep it posted right here to the Uncontested. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all socials. We will talk to you guys very soon. Until then, as always, thunder up.